Friday night, your home looked like every other house on the street. By Sunday, it didn't. Same walls, same roof, same address. But the front door now resists 600 pounds of force instead of collapsing on kick 2. The windows don't broadcast your location after dark. The water cache is gravity-fed, sealed, odorless, and invisible. And your home is a node in a communication network that doesn't touch a single cell tower. Nobody drove past and noticed. That's the point. Here's what a Navy SEAL does to a house when he has 2 days and permission to fix it properly. Most preppers have the same problem. They don't know it yet, but they do. You've got a 72-hour bag by the back door, maybe 2. You've got food rotated in labeled bins, a hand crank radio charged and ready, a generator with fresh fuel in the can beside it. You've thought through rotation schedules. You've trained with the equipment. You know your family's caloric needs for 90 days. You've spent real money on this. Months of deliberate accumulation. The gear is right. The quantities are reasonable. The intent is serious. And none of it addresses the actual problem with your home, because the survival industry taught you to prepare for leaving. Bug-out bag, evacuation route, 3-point meeting location. The entire logic of mainstream preparedness is oriented around mobility. Grab the bag, hit the route, reconvene at the checkpoint. It's a framework built for the 72-hour FEMA scenario, not for the 72-day grid-down reality. That's one scenario. It's not the most common one. And it's not the one that kills people. The scenario that kills people is staying. It's the collapse that comes faster than the plan, where the roads are locked, where leaving means trading a defensible position for open exposure. Your home becomes not just where you live, it's your only shelter, your only water source, your only communication node. And that home, the one you've spent years stocking with gear, has a front door that fails in 2 kicks. This is what the professional sees when he walks in. Not your inventory, not your labels, your architecture. A Navy SEAL doesn't evaluate your preparedness by checking your pantry. He looks at your entry points first. How many there are, what they're made of, how they're reinforced, or more accurately, how they're not. He looks at the hinges. Exposed hinges mean a door can be lifted off its frame from the outside without touching the lock. He looks at the strike plate, the small steel piece the deadbolt slides into when you turn the lock. On most residential doors, that plate is held by screws 3/4 of an inch long, 3/4 of an inch into pine framing. That's the barrier between your family and forced entry. The door itself isn't the weak point. The frame is. The frame has always been the weak point. Nobody told you that. Then he looks at your water. Not the jugs in the closet. He's looking for the signature. Improperly stored water, open containers, chlorine that's off-gassed, plastic that's been sitting in heat, produces a noticeable smell. In a grid-down situation, in a neighborhood where people are getting desperate, that smell carries. You've created an invisible advertisement. You have something other people don't, and you've broadcast it. Then the windows. He's counting angles. Every window works in 2 directions. You can see out, someone can see in. At night, with any light source inside, a candle, a battery lantern, a headlamp, your silhouette is visible from outside to anyone whose eyes have adjusted to the dark. You become a shape with resources. In a world where every other window is black, yours is a lighthouse. You're not sheltering, you're advertising. Then the generator. The residential generator is, from a resilience standpoint, one of the most counterproductive pieces of equipment you can own. It runs on stored fuel. It requires maintenance. And it produces a sound that carries 3 full city blocks, broadcasting to anyone within earshot that your power is on, and you have something worth approaching. The people who designed it were thinking about 48-hour storm outages. You've been buying a storm outage tool for a civilization failure problem. The radio in your bag is the same problem wearing a different uniform. You key up, you broadcast. Anyone with a scanner and 10 minutes of patience knows your frequency, your approximate location, and the fact that you're organized enough to have a communication plan. That makes you interesting. In a world where most people are silent and confused, a coordinated group with radio discipline is worth locating, either to join or to take from. Traditional two-way radio is point-to-point, line of sight, and fully public. You're not communicating. You're filing your location with whoever's listening. This is the gap. The gap between what the survival market sells and what actual structural resilience looks like. The gear they sell works for the scenario they're imagining, but the scenario they're imagining is the temporary one, the one where FEMA eventually arrives and order is restored. Temporary disruption is a product category. Permanent grid failure is not. There's no margin in selling you a solution that lasts decades. There's excellent margin in selling you a bag you'll restock, a battery bank you'll replace, a generator you'll maintain and upgrade. You are the repeating revenue event. Your vulnerability is the business model. The people who built real resilience didn't buy different products. They changed the architecture. They thought about their home the way an adversary would. Not a movie villain, but a desperate person making rational decisions about where to apply pressure and where to move on. A hard target doesn't get selected. A home that doesn't broadcast resources doesn't get approached. A door that doesn't fail doesn't get kicked. None of this requires special forces training. It requires seeing your home the way the structure actually works, not the way the listing described it. The people who don't make it aren't the ones who did nothing. They're the ones who prepared for the wrong threat. They built for leaving and had to stay. They built for comfort and got seen. They built for convenience and got heard. And they built all of it on a structural foundation nobody ever showed them how to harden. The entry points their home was never designed to resist. The water it couldn't store invisibly. The light it couldn't contain. So let's talk about what changes. Not the gear list, not the bag by the door, the home itself, the structure, the frame. The front door is the first conversation your home has with anyone who approaches it. Right now that conversation says, try harder than you think you need to. That's not good enough. A standard residential exterior door is hung in a wood frame. The deadbolt slides into a strike plate mounted to that frame. The plate is held by screws 3/4 of an inch long, threading into pine stud framing. That's the entire mechanical system standing between your family and forced entry. When someone kicks that door, not a running start, just a flat-footed kick aimed at the latch side. The force transfers to that plate. The plate pulls, the frame splits. The door opens. Average kicks required 2. Average time elapsed 3 seconds. The fix is not a new door. It's a $30 steel reinforcement kit. Door Armor makes one. Several others do too, consisting of a wraparound steel frame guard, a heavy gauge strike box replacing the factory plate, and 3-inch screws that thread past the frame and into the structural stud behind it. The force now transfers into the stud itself. The wood can't split because the steel won't allow it. That same kick now requires sustained, public, exhausting force your attacker almost certainly won't commit to. You've made yourself a hard target for 90 minutes of labor and less than the cost of a tank of gas. You can do this today. The hardware exists. The hinges are the second conversation. Exposed hinges on the exterior face of an inward swinging door can be defeated by driving out the hinge pins. The door lifts free of the frame entirely, lock mechanism untouched. The solution is a security stud, a small steel pin installed in the hinge leaf in 90 seconds that captures the door in the frame regardless of pin condition. $4 per hinge. The professional checked this in the first 45 seconds. Now you know to check it first. Water is the next structural failure. It's more dangerous than the door because it's silent and because you won't detect it until it's already become a problem. Most stored water fails invisibly. Chlorine added at the municipal level to suppress bacterial growth off gases through plastic containers over weeks, particularly in warm storage. Once that chlorine dissipates, the water becomes a growth medium. It doesn't cloud immediately, it doesn't change color, but it develops a smell. Faint at first, then not. In a neighborhood where every other water source has gone dry, the odor of improperly stored water travels. You've created a resource advertisement you can't see and didn't know you were broadcasting. The solution is a sealed, opaque, food-grade bladder, a water bob or equivalent, that fills directly from a standard bathtub tap and holds up to 100 gallons in a fully enclosed environment. No light exposure, no off-gassing through thin plastic walls, no smell. A family of 4 needs roughly 1 gallon per person per day for drinking and minimal sanitation. One bladder at $30 provides 25 days of water with 0 odor signature when sealed correctly. That's not camping gear. That's infrastructure. Gravity delivers it. Any powered pump, electric or manual, requires energy input and produces sound output. A gravity-fed system stores water above the point of use and delivers it through a food-safe spigot using physics that requires nothing from you and broadcasts nothing to anyone. The physics are from the 1700s. The application is permanent. You fill it once, you draw from it silently until it's gone. Light discipline is the third domain. It's the one people resist longest because it requires behavior change rather than a purchase. The physics are not complicated. Human eyes reach full dark adaptation in 20 to 30 minutes. After that threshold, a single candle inside a room is visible from outside at more than 200 meters under clear conditions. A battery lantern is visible farther. Your phone screen near a window is visible from across the street. In a grid-down event on night 3, when every other structure on your block is completely dark and you have interior light running, you are the only luminous point in a field of black. You are not sheltering, you are signaling. Blackout curtains, not blackout rated, blackout, with a third layer of dense foam blocking 100% of light transmission, cost between $25 and $60 per window. You install them now before you need them. You build the habit of 0 interior light near uncovered windows after dark before there's a collapse demanding the discipline. By the time the grid goes down, the behavior is already automatic. Light discipline cannot be installed under pressure if it was never practiced in calm. The 4th modification changes what your home is in relation to every other home around it. A single mesh-tastic device, a LoRa radio module running open-source firmware, available from Heltec or LilyGo for $35 to $60, converts your home from an isolated point to a network node. It transmits encrypted text messages and GPS coordinates without touching a cell tower, a satellite, or any infrastructure you don't personally own. One device reaches every other mesh-tastic node within 5 to 10 miles across open terrain. The encryption is AES 128 by default. No one intercepts your traffic without your specific channel key. Your home becomes a communication point. The existing system doesn't know exists and cannot shut down. 1 device is limited. 2 creates a directional link. 5 distributed across a neighborhood creates a mesh. The network doesn't have a center to remove, so it cannot be dismantled from the outside. Every node added makes it stronger. None removed makes it weaker. You build this before you need it, or you don't have it when you do. Here's what none of these modifications have in common with the preparedness industry's product catalog. None of them are consumables. None require annual replacement. None have a subscription tier. A 3-inch screw threaded into a structural stud does not expire. A sealed water bladder in a cool basement does not require a firmware update. A blackout curtain installed correctly does not need replacing for years. A mesh-tastic node running on a small solar panel runs indefinitely. These are permanent structural changes that remove you from the purchase cycle entirely. And that is exactly why none of them appear in the sponsored posts, the catalog mailers, or the pre-roll ads you see before every survival gear review on this platform. The home security industry operates on a simple economic logic. They sell you a camera for $200 and an alarm subscription for $35 a month. The camera monitors what happens after someone has already breached your perimeter. The alarm calls a response service that arrives in 7 to 11 minutes. A national average, which is approximately 6 minutes and 50 seconds after the breach is complete. You are not being protected. You are being subscribed to the documentation of your failure. The business model requires your home to remain structurally penetrable. A door frame that cannot be kicked in doesn't generate monitoring contracts. So the industry doesn't sell you the door frame solution. It sells you the camera. It sells you the response. It sells you the monthly fee for the privilege of knowing, slightly faster than you would have otherwise, that something went wrong. The preparedness market runs the same logic in tactical nylon. Every bag, every battery bank, every freeze-dried meal rotation exists inside a product cycle. Bags wear out, batteries degrade, food rotates, you come back. The industry is not interested in the $30 strike plate that solves the entry problem permanently and then is never purchased again. It's interested in the $300 tactical bag that needs replacing in 5 years, the solar generator that gets superseded by next year's model, the water filter that needs replacement cartridges every 6 months. You are not a problem to solve. You are a revenue stream to maintain. The water bladder, the door reinforcement kit, the blackout curtains, the mesh radio. None of these appear in the emergency preparedness aisle at the outdoor retailer. Not because they don't work, because they work too completely. They solve the problem and then stop generating revenue. A customer who has hardened their entry points, established invisible water storage, eliminated their light signature, and built a neighborhood communication network that doesn't touch the telecom grid is no longer a useful customer. They've exited the cycle. The market cannot follow them there, so it never points them there in the first place. This is the same mechanism that buried nickel-iron batteries for a century. The same one that keeps aerogel insulation niche while down jackets dominate full-page magazine spreads. The same reason Meshtastic runs on hobbyist forums and amateur radio communities rather than carrier store end caps. It's not suppression by law. It's not a coordinated conspiracy. It's suppression by silence, by the absence of a marketing budget, by the gravitational pull of quarterly earnings away from anything that permanently closes the sale and removes the customer from the purchase cycle. But here's what the market's silence doesn't change. The building science doesn't care about the subscription model. The physics of a reinforced door frame doesn't care about the alarm company's revenue projections. A gravity-fed water system works by the same fluid mechanics it worked by in 1850. The encryption on a Meshtastic network doesn't care whether Verizon approves. The solutions exist in the same physical world as the problems. They've always been there. You just weren't shown the shelf they were on. What the seal changed in your home isn't the gear list. He changed what the home is. Before the weekend, a visible structure with penetrable entries, audible power generation, a water supply broadcasting its own location, and no communication capacity outside the cell network. After, a hard target with no light signature, sealed and odorless water infrastructure, and a node in an encrypted mesh network that no one can shut off from a central location. Same walls, same roof, same address. Different architecture entirely. A home that can't be easily entered doesn't get selected. A home that doesn't smell like stored water doesn't get approached. A home that doesn't glow after dark doesn't get watched. A home that can communicate without the grid doesn't go silent when the grid does. These are not tactical upgrades. They are the structural baseline that residential construction was never designed to meet, because it was designed for a world where the grid holds and order is restored inside 72 hours. You don't need a seal to do this. You need to see your home the way he does, as a structure with specific failure points, specific broadcast signatures, and specific dependencies that can each be addressed with known materials, known techniques, and known physics. None of it classified, none of it restricted, none of it requiring a license or a patch on your sleeve. Just the knowledge that the failure points exist and the willingness to close them before they're tested under conditions that don't allow for second attempts. Now I want to hear from you. Walk through your home tonight with this framework. Look at the hinges. Check which way they face. Look at what your windows reveal to the street after dark when your lights are on. Look at what the generator sounds like from 3 houses down. Find the structural gap the industry never mentioned and drop it in the comments. Because the more this knowledge moves between people who've actually thought it through, the harder any of us are to pick apart. A well-built home is not a prepper's home. It's not a fortress. It's just a home that was actually finished properly.